Maya Washington's hands wouldn't stop trembling as she stood in the hallway of Little Stars Daycare, staring at the construction paper her 4-year-old son had thrust into her hands the moment she walked through the door. The crayon drawing should have been simple, the kind of stick figure artwork every preschooler produced. But this wasn't simple. Nothing about this was simple. The man in the drawing was rendered with disturbing detail for a child's hand. Broad-shouldered, wearing what was unmistakably an expensive black suit, drawn with careful attention to the jacket, the tie, even the way the fabric seemed to drape. The face was more impression than accuracy, but something about the sharp features, the set of the jaw, the way the figure stood with commanding presence. It all felt specific. Intentional. Like Elijah was drawing from memory rather than imagination. But it was the Korean characters scrawled along the bottom that made Maya's blood run cold. She couldn't read them. Despite working with Korean families at Northwestern Memorial Hospital's pediatric trauma unit, her Korean was functional at best. Medical terms, comforting phrases for frightened children, basic greetings. But these characters were written with a child's unsteady hand, forming symbols that shouldn't exist in her son's vocabulary at all. "Ms. Washington, I really need to talk to you about this." Mrs. Chin appeared in the classroom doorway, her usually calm expression tight with something Maya couldn't quite identify. Concern, yes. But also confusion. Maybe even a hint of fear. Maya followed the teacher into the classroom, her professional instincts as a trauma counselor automatically cataloging details. The room was cheerful. Primary colors everywhere, children's artwork covering the walls, the lingering smell of crayons and apple juice. Normal. Everything should be normal. But the knot in her stomach said otherwise. "This started 3 weeks ago," Mrs. Chin began, pulling out a folder from her desk. Inside were more drawings. Dozens of them. All of the same man. At first I thought it was just a phase. You know how children fixate on things. Superheroes, cartoon characters. I figured maybe Elijah had seen someone on TV or in a movie that captured his imagination. She laid the drawings out chronologically and Maya's breath caught. Because this wasn't a phase. This was an obsession. An evolution. The first drawings were simpler, just a tall figure in black. But with each passing day they became more detailed. More specific. By the second week, Elijah had added a scar on the man's left hand. A distinctive watch on his wrist. The exact way his hair fell across his forehead. By the third week he was drawing backgrounds. Expensive cars, tall buildings, men in suits standing behind the main figure like guards or soldiers. "Mrs. Chin, I don't understand. Where is he getting these details? We don't watch violent TV. We don't have Korean friends or family. I've never shown him pictures of anyone who looks like this." "I know." The teacher's voice dropped lower. "But Maya, there's more. Much more. The drawings are just the beginning." She pulled out a small notebook, flipping to a page covered in her neat handwriting. "I started keeping notes about 2 weeks ago. The things Elijah says while he's drawing. The way he talks about this man like he knows him intimately." Maya took the notebook with shaking hands, reading entries that made her professional training scream impossible even as her mother's heart whispered something she didn't want to acknowledge. Monday, October 2nd. Elijah said, "Appa is sad today. He misses someone who went to heaven." When asked who Appa is, he said, "My Appa. He doesn't know I'm here yet, but he will soon." Wednesday, October 4th. During nap time, Elijah was crying in his sleep. He kept saying, "Don't go, Appa. Please don't leave me." When I woke him, he said he dreamed about being very sick and Appa was holding his hand. Friday, October 6th. Elijah drew the man with tears on his face. He said, "Appa is crying because he lost his baby. But I'm not lost. I'm right here. I'm waiting for him to find me." The entries continued, each one more detailed and disturbing than the last. Elijah describing the man's apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows, modern furniture, a view of Chicago's skyline. The man's car. Black, expensive leather seats that smelled like cedar and smoke. The way the man drank his coffee. Black, no sugar, always in a specific mug with Korean characters on it. Details. Specific, verifiable details that a 4-year-old couldn't possibly know. "This is the word he keeps using," Mrs. Chin said softly, pointing to one of the notebook entries. "Appa. I had to look it up. It's Korean for father," Maya whispered. "I know. I've heard it at the hospital. Your son has never met his biological father, correct?" Never. Marcus left the day I told him I was pregnant. Moved to California. I haven't heard from him in 5 years. Maya's voice was steady despite the chaos in her chest. And he definitely wasn't Korean. Then I don't know how to explain this. Mrs. Chin gestured to the drawings, the notebook, the 3 weeks of documented impossible knowledge. I've been teaching for 20 years. I've seen children with imaginary friends, vivid dreams, even cases where trauma caused them to create detailed fantasies. But this is different. The consistency, the specificity, the emotional certainty. Maya's counselor training took over, her mind running through possibilities. Confabulation. Mixing real memories with imagination. But Elijah had no Korean memories to mix. Exposure to media. But she monitored everything he watched. Some kind of psychological phenomenon she'd never encountered in her 8 years of specialized pediatric trauma work. None of it fit. There's one more thing, Mrs. Chin said, her expression grave. This morning Elijah was very agitated. He kept insisting that today is the day. That Appa finally knows where to find him. That he dreamed about it last night, very clearly. He said his Appa saw his picture, saw his name written in Korean, and he's coming. Coming today. The words hung in the air between them, heavy with implication. Mrs. Chin, that's not possible. That's just a child's fantasy. A coincidence if. The daycare's front entrance door opened with enough force to make both women jump. Maya turned, her counselor instincts immediately assessing the newcomers. 4 men. All Asian, likely Korean based on features. All wearing dark suits that screamed expensive. All moving with the kind of disciplined coordination that spoke of military or security training. They weren't loud or threatening, but their mere presence changed the energy of the entire building. Other parents grabbed their children a little tighter. Teachers exchanged nervous glances. But it was the man in front who made Maya's breath stop completely. As he was the drawing. He was every single crayon stroke Elijah had labored over for 3 weeks. Tall, well over 6 feet, with a build that suggested both power and control. Sharp, almost aristocratic features that would have been beautiful if they weren't so hard. Dark hair styled with precision. And yes, there on his left hand as he pulled off his leather gloves, a distinctive scar running from his thumb to his wrist. He wore a suit that probably cost more than Maya's monthly salary, black, perfectly tailored, with a dark gray tie and a watch that caught the light as he moved. Everything about him radiated wealth and danger in equal measure. He was the kind of man who didn't need to raise his voice to command a room. His presence alone demanded attention. Demanded deference. His dark eyes swept the hallway with the precision of someone trained to assess threats, to catalog exits, to notice everything. When those eyes landed on Maya, she felt the impact like a physical thing. A jolt of electricity. A recognition she couldn't explain. He stared at her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then he moved forward with deliberate steps, his entourage maintaining a respectful distance behind him. I'm looking for the child who made this. His voice was deep, accented, the English perfectly grammatical but shaped by Korean phonetics. He held up a phone showing a photograph of one of Elijah's drawings, the one with the Korean characters. I need to speak with his parent. Immediately. Maya's mouth went dry. This wasn't happening. This couldn't be happening. But the scar on his hand. The watch. The exact way his hair fell. The commanding presence. All of it matched Elijah's drawings with terrifying accuracy. I'm his mother. Her voice came out stronger than she felt, her counselor training helping her maintain composure even as her world tilted. And I think you need to explain how my 4-year-old son knows who you are when I've never seen you before in my life. Something flickered across his face, surprise maybe at being challenged. Most people probably didn't challenge him. His jaw tightened and she watched his eyes travel over her face, taking in details with the same precision he'd used to scan the room. Your son. He paused, and when he spoke again his voice had changed subtly. Less commanding, more uncertain. Your son wrote my name. My private name. The one my mother used before she died. A name that is not public knowledge. A name I've told perhaps 3 people in my entire life. He switched to Korean, his words rapid and sharp, then caught himself. How does he know it? I have absolutely no idea. Maya crossed her arms, a defensive gesture she recognized even as she made it. But you're not going anywhere near him until you tell me exactly who you are and why you're really here. Mr. Park, perhaps we should, one of his men began in accented English. The man, Park, silenced him with a single look. Then his attention returned to Maya and she felt pinned under that gaze. Examined. Obsessed. She lifted her chin, refusing to be intimidated. My name is Park Jin-hyuk, he said carefully, each word deliberate. And your son has been drawing me for 3 weeks according to my sources. Drawing details about my life that are not publicly available. Writing a name that shouldn't exist in his vocabulary. I need to understand how this is possible. So do I, Maya said. My son has never met you. We don't know any Korean families personally. This doesn't make any. Mama. The word cut through the tension like a knife. They both turned. Elijah burst from the classroom doorway, his small legs pumping as he ran full speed down the hallway. His face was lit up with pure joy, with recognition, with something that looked almost like relief. And he wasn't running to Maya. Appa. Elijah's voice rang out clear and certain, using the Korean word like he'd been saying it his whole life. Appa, you came. You finally came. He crashed into Jin-hyuk's legs with the force of a tiny meteor. Small arms wrapping around expensive fabric without hesitation. His face tilted up, eyes shining with tears of happiness, and the look he gave this stranger, this dangerous man in an expensive suit, was pure love. You kept your promise, Elijah said, his voice thick with emotion. You said you'd find me. You said you'd come when you knew where I was. And you did. You really did. Maya watched Jin-hyuk freeze. This powerful man who commanded rooms just by entering them stood completely still, his expression cycling through emotions too fast to track. Confusion. And then something that looked almost like pain. His hands moved slowly, almost unwillingly, settling on Elijah's small shoulders. I don't understand. I'm Elijah, her son said, beaming up at him with absolute trust. And you're my Appa. I know you don't remember yet. That's okay. But you will. You visit me at night when I'm sleeping. You stand by my window and you promise to keep me and Mama safe from bad people. You tell me stories about when I was sick and you held my hand. Don't you remember? The color drained from Jin-hyuk's face. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. Because this was real. Whatever this was, psychological phenomenon, bizarre coincidence, or something else entirely, it was real and happening and she had no framework to understand it. Elijah's sweetheart, she started, moving toward them. This man is not your. He is Mama. Elijah's voice carried the certainty only children possessed. He pressed closer to Jin-hyuk's legs, his small hands gripping the expensive fabric. I know he is. My heart knows. He's been looking for us just like we've been waiting for him. It's like we finally found each other after being lost for so long. Jin-hyuk's eyes lifted from Elijah to Maya, and what she saw there made her breath catch. Not anger. Not confusion. But something deeper. Something that looked almost like recognition. Like he was seeing something he'd been searching for without knowing it. We need to talk, he said quietly, his hands still resting on Elijah's shoulders like he couldn't quite bring himself to pull away. All of us. Somewhere private. Because I don't know what's happening here, but... His voice cracked slightly. But your son knows things he shouldn't know. Things that are impossible. I agree, Maya said, though every instinct screamed to grab Elijah and run. But she was a counselor. She dealt in understanding, in finding explanations for inexplicable behavior. And right now she needed to understand this more than anything. There's an office we can use, Mrs. Chin offered nervously. Private. Away from the other children. Jin-hyuk nodded, then looked down at Elijah, who was still clinging to him with absolute trust. Will you come with me, little one? So we can figure out what's happening. I'll go anywhere with you, Appa, Elijah said simply. I've been waiting so long. I'm not letting go now. And as they walked toward the office, this impossible grouping of a dangerous stranger, a terrified mother and a 4-year-old who somehow bridged the gap between them, Maya realized with cold certainty that her life had just changed forever. Whatever was about to be revealed, whatever explanation existed for her son's impossible knowledge, nothing would ever be normal again. The daycare director's office was small and cluttered with children's files and educational supplies, but Jin-hyuk's presence made it feel even smaller. He stood near the window, his men positioned outside the door, while Maya sat in one of the child-sized chairs with Elijah on her lap. The absurdity of the situation wasn't lost on her. A suspected crime boss, a trauma counselor, and a 4-year-old having a conversation that defied everything she knew about child psychology. "Start from the beginning," Jin Hyuk said, his eyes never leaving Elijah. "When did this start?" 3 weeks ago, Maya answered, her arms tightening protectively around her son. The first drawing appeared during art time at daycare. Mrs. Chin thought it was just imaginative play. But then he kept drawing the same figure. Every day. Getting more detailed each time. What did he say about the drawings? That he was drawing his Appa. She watched Jin Hyuk's jaw tighten at the word. That you visit him at night. That you stand in his room and promise to protect us. That you're sad because you lost someone you loved. Jin Hyuk's hands clenched at his sides. What else? He described your apartment. Your car. The way you drink coffee. Things a 4-year-old couldn't possibly know. Maya's professional voice was cracking, her counselor composure fracturing. "Mr. Park, I need you to understand. I work with traumatized children every day. I know what fantasy looks like. What confabulation looks like. What happens when a child's mind tries to process loss or create what they're missing. This isn't any of those things." "No," Jin Hyuk agreed quietly. "It's not." He moved closer, crouching down so he was at eye level with Elijah. Up close, Maya could see details she'd missed. Flecks of gold in his dark eyes, a small scar near his temple, the way his expensive cologne mixed with something else. Theater maybe. And underneath it something that smelled like grief. "Elijah," Jin Hyuk said gently, and hearing him say her son's name in that accented English made something in Maya's chest tighten. "Can you tell me about these dreams? About when I visit you?" Elijah's face lit up. "You come at night when Mama's sleeping. You stand by my window and the moon makes your face all silvery. Sometimes you're crying. Sometimes you just watch me and whisper things in Korean that I don't understand all the words but I know what they mean." He reached out, his small hand touching Jin Hyuk's cheek with startling intimacy. "You say, "Ne sarang," my love. You say, "Mayan he." I'm sorry. You say, "Chajaseo." I found you. Jin Hyuk's breath shuddered. Those were not common Korean phrases a child would pick up casually. Those were intimate, emotional words that required context and intention. "What else do I say?" His voice was barely above a whisper. "You tell me about when I was sick. Really, really sick. You say you held my hand and begged me not to go. You promised you'd find me again no matter what. That love doesn't end just because bodies stop working." Elijah's ancient eyes studied Jin Hyuk's face carefully. "You say I was your Tal. Your daughter. And I know that's confusing because I'm a boy now, but it's still me. My soul is still the same." The silence that followed was suffocating. Maya felt reality tilting, her counselor brain trying desperately to find a rational explanation while her mother's intuition whispered that something profound and inexplicable was happening. Jin Hyuk stood abruptly, turning away from them. His shoulders were rigid, his breathing controlled but audible. When he finally spoke, his voice was rough with barely contained emotion. 5 years ago my wife was 6 months pregnant. We were happy. Planning for our daughter's arrival. Choosing names. He didn't turn around, couldn't seem to face them while saying this. My enemies found out. They thought taking her would give them leverage. They were wrong. But by the time I found her, it was too late. Maya's hand flew to her mouth. She died during an emergency C-section. The trauma was too severe. But the baby, our daughter, she lived for 3 minutes. His voice broke completely. 3 minutes where I held her hand and promised her that if there was any way, any possibility of us being together again, I would find her. That love like ours didn't end. Couldn't end. He turned back to face them and tears streaked his face without shame. She would be 4 years old now. Exactly Elijah's age. That's because I am her, Elijah said simply as if explaining something obvious. Same soul, different body. I told you, Appa. I've been waiting for you to find me. Maya couldn't breathe. This was insane. Reincarnation wasn't real. Past lives were fantasy. Children couldn't remember things from before they were born. Every rational bone in her body rejected this. But looking at Jin Hyuk's face, at the way he was staring at Elijah with a mixture of hope and devastation, at the way her son gazed back with ancient recognition, she couldn't deny that something was happening beyond her understanding. "Mr. Park," she started. Jin Hyuk, he corrected, wiping his face roughly. If we're going to discuss whether my dead daughter has somehow found her way back to me through your son, I think we can use first names. Despite everything, Maya almost laughed. Jin Hyuk then. I'm a scientist. I'm trained in psychology in evidence-based treatment. Everything in me wants to find a rational explanation for this. But you can't, he finished for her. No, she admitted. I can't. And that terrifies me. He moved closer again, this time sitting in the other child-sized chair, looking absurdly large and dangerous in the tiny furniture. My mother believed in Hwanseng, reincarnation. She said souls that love each other across lifetimes will always find their way back. Different bodies, different circumstances, but the same fundamental connection. His eyes met Maya's and she felt the intensity like a physical touch. I thought it was superstition. Beautiful but impossible. And now I'm looking at a 4-year-old boy who knows my mother's private name for me. Who describes my apartment that's never been photographed. Who knows about the mug I drink from every morning, the one Sujin gave me before she died, with Korean characters that say, my heart. He gestured helplessly. What rational explanation covers that? I don't know, Maya whispered. Elijah squirmed off her lap, moving to stand between both adults. He took one of Jin Hyuk's hands and one of Maya's, his small fingers surprisingly strong. You don't have to understand it. You just have to accept it. Appa and I found each other again. And now we found Mama too. What do you mean, found Mama too? Maya asked carefully. You've been in my dreams too, Elijah said, looking up at her with those two old eyes. Before I was born, when I was waiting to come here, I saw you. I chose you. Because you have a good heart and strong hands, and you needed someone to love as much as I needed a new mama. Maya's eyes filled with tears. Baby. And Appa has been dreaming about you, Elijah continued, turning to Jin Hyuk. Haven't you, Appa? About a woman with kind eyes who sees past the scary parts to the good parts. Who makes you feel human again. Jin Hyuk went very still. How do you know that? Because that's how souls work. They recognize each other. Elijah smiled, pleased with himself. You and Mama are supposed to be together too. I'm just the reason you finally found each other. Okay, that's... Maya stood abruptly, needing space, needing air. That's too much. Even if I accept the impossible idea that you're somehow connected to Jin Hyuk through past lives or soul recognition or whatever this is, the idea that I'm part of some cosmic plan is... Look at him, Mama, Elijah interrupted gently. Really look at him. Doesn't your heart feel something? Against her will, Maya's eyes found Jin Hyuk's. And God help her, she did feel something. Had felt it from the moment he walked through that door. Recognition, yes. But also attraction. Fear and desire tangled together. A pull she couldn't explain and didn't want to acknowledge. His eyes darkened as he looked back at her, and she knew he felt it too. This is insane, she said weakly. Yes, Jin Hyuk agreed. But that doesn't make it less real. He stood, and suddenly the small office felt even smaller. He was tall enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes, close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from his body. I came here expecting to find a threat. Someone trying to exploit me using knowledge they shouldn't have. But instead I found... He paused, searching for words. I found my daughter's eyes looking at me from a stranger's face. I found impossible knowledge wrapped in innocent certainty. And I found you. You don't know me. No, he admitted. But I want to. Because if even half of what's happening here is real, if there's even a possibility that fate or destiny or cosmic justice has given me a second chance at the family I lost. His voice roughened. I'm not walking away from that. Mr. Park, Jin Hyuk, you need to understand something. Maya forced herself to think like a counselor, to assess this rationally. You're a criminal. The articles Mrs. Chin showed me said you're under federal investigation. That people who cross you disappear. That you run drugs and guns and God knows what else through Chicago. All true, he said without flinching. I have a son to protect. I can't just ignore the danger you represent because of some inexplicable connection. Also true. He glanced down at Elijah, who was watching their exchange with interest. But you're also a trauma counselor who works with vulnerable children. Who moved to one of Chicago's most dangerous neighborhoods because you wanted to help families who couldn't afford North Side therapists. You understand danger in different forms. How do you know that? Maya demanded. I had you investigated the moment I saw Elijah's first drawing. He said it without apology. I needed to know if this was a trap. Someone was using a child to get to me. Instead I found a single mother working 2 jobs. Counseling during the day, per diem nursing shifts at night. Living in a tiny apartment in Englewood with locks that wouldn't stop a determined teenager, let alone professional criminals. His jaw clenched. You lecture me about danger while living in more danger daily than you seem to realize. That's different. It's just life. That's not organized crime? His smile was sharp. Maya, do you know who controls Englewood? Who decides which buildings get protection and which get robbed? Who determines whether women like you can walk home safely at night or become statistics? Her stomach dropped. You. My organization has interests in every neighborhood south of I-55. Your building, your street, the route you take to work. All of it runs through territory I control or dispute with rivals. He stepped closer. You've been surrounded by my world for 6 months. You just didn't know it. That's not reassuring. It should be. His voice dropped lower, intimate despite the circumstances. Because it means I can actually protect you and Elijah in ways normal men can't. The moment you both became visible to me, you became visible to my enemies. But you also became untouchable. We don't need your protection. Don't you? He pulled out his phone, showing her a photograph that made her blood run cold. It was her and Elijah taken this morning on their walk to daycare. High-quality telephoto lens, the kind of surveillance photo professionals took. This was sent to me 3 hours ago by the Volkov family. Russians who want my territory. They were asking if the child and the woman were important to me. Maya's hands went numb. What did you tell them? I didn't answer. Which is why I came immediately. His expression was granite hard. But they'll take my presence here today as confirmation. They'll assume you matter to me. And that makes you targets whether you accept my protection or not. This is insane. He wanted to scream. Wanted to grab Elijah and run. But where? How? If what he was saying was true, they were already caught in something she couldn't escape. Welcome to my world, Jin Hyuk said quietly. I'm sorry you're in it. But I can either protect you or let my enemies use you to destroy me. There is no third option. Mama, Elijah's small voice cut through the tension. I know you're scared. But Appa is telling the truth. The bad men are watching us. I see them in my dreams too. But Appa can keep us safe. He promised. Maya looked at her son, her baby who somehow knew things he shouldn't, who looked at this dangerous stranger with complete trust, who spoke of past lives and soul connections like they were simple facts. Then she looked at Jin Hyuk, this man who'd walked into her life an hour ago and turned everything upside down, who claimed her son might be his reincarnated daughter, who offered protection wrapped in danger. I need time, she said finally. To think. To process this. To figure out what's real and what's impossible. Jin Hyuk's smile was sad. Take tonight. Think. But I'm posting guards on your building whether you agree or not. Discreet but present. Because if the Volkovs move, they won't give you time to decide. And tomorrow? Tomorrow we figure out what this means. All of it. The connection. The danger. The fact that your son knows things about me that even my closest associates don't know. He crouched down again, his eyes level with Elijah's. Is that okay, little one? Can you give your mama time to be brave? She's already brave, Elijah said, hugging Jin Hyuk with startling fierceness. She just doesn't know it yet. Jin Hyuk's arms came around the small body carefully, like he was holding something precious and breakable. When he pulled back, his eyes were wet again. Sarangi, he whispered. I love you. Nato Sarangi Appa, Elijah whispered back, the Korean perfect despite never being taught. I love you too, Appa. Maya watched this impossible connection and felt her world shift irrevocably. Tomorrow she'd have to make decisions that would change everything. Tonight she just had to survive the weight of impossible truths. Maya didn't sleep that night. She sat in Elijah's room, watching him sleep peacefully while her mind spun with everything that had happened. Jin Hyuk's men were outside. She'd spotted them despite his promise of discretion. Black SUV across the street. Another at the corner. Professional security that should have made her feel safe but instead reminded her how dramatically her life had changed in a single afternoon. Around 2 a.m. her phone buzzed. Unknown number. You should be sleeping. Exhaustion clouds judgment. Yotha. She stared at the text. How did he know she was awake? Then she remembered the surveillance photo. He probably had cameras watching her building now. Hard to sleep when your world has been turned upside down. I know the feeling. I haven't slept properly in 5 years. Until tonight. Yotha. Why tonight? Because I found her. Found you. Purpose helps with insomnia. Yotha. Maya's fingers hovered over the keyboard. She should tell him to stop texting. To give her space. But instead she found herself typing, "Tell me about her. Your daughter. What was her name?" The response took longer this time. "We never chose one. Sujin wanted to wait until she was born, said names should match personality. We never got the chance." Yotha. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. You gave me a second chance at being her father, even if it's in the strangest way possible. That's a gift I never expected. Yotha. Elijah isn't her. He's his own person. I know. But souls can carry forward. Maybe she's part of him. Maybe that's enough. Yotha. Maya looked at her sleeping son, at the peaceful expression on his face. What do you think, baby? She whispered. Is this crazy? Or is this exactly what it seems to be? Her phone buzzed again. I want to see you tomorrow. Not at the daycare. Somewhere we can talk properly. My penthouse is secure, private. Let me send a car. Yotha. I don't know if that's a good idea. Maya, whether you come willingly or not, we need to have a serious conversation about your safety. The Volkovs aren't subtle. If they've identified you as important to me, they'll move soon. I'd rather have that conversation in a place where I know you're protected. Yotha. The threat was real. She'd seen the surveillance photo. And despite her instinct to reject his world, she was smart enough to know she couldn't protect Elijah alone against professional criminals. Fine. But just to talk. Nothing else. Just to talk. I promise. Yotha. What time? I'll send a car at 10 a.m. The driver's name is Taeyong. He's been with me for 15 years. You can trust him. Yotha. I don't trust anyone in your world yet. Fair enough. But you trusted me with Elijah today. That's a start. Yotha. She couldn't argue with that. Against all logic, all professional judgment, she had let this dangerous stranger hold her son. Had watched Elijah cling to him with absolute faith. And some part of her, the counselor who'd learned to read genuine emotion, knew Jin Hyuk's tears had been real. His grief authentic. His connection to Elijah inexplicable but true. Good night, Jin Hyuk. Jaljeo Maya. Sleep well. My men will keep you safe. Yotha. The Korean phrase made her smile despite everything. She was learning the language slowly through work, but hearing it, even through text, felt intimate. She finally fell asleep around 4 a.m., exhausted from emotional overload. Her dreams were fragmented and strange. Jin Hyuk's face. Elijah's drawings. A little girl with dark hair reaching for her with tiny hands. And a feeling, overwhelming and inexplicable, that she was exactly where she was supposed to be. Taeyong arrived exactly at 10 a.m., driving a Mercedes that probably cost more than Maya's annual salary. He was younger than she expected, early 30s maybe, with sharp features and the kind of hyper-aware posture that spoke of military training. Ms. Washington, he greeted her in accented English, opening the door with professional courtesy. Mr. Park is waiting. Elijah bounced excitedly in his car seat, thrilled to be going to Appa's house. Maya had tried to explain that this was just a visit, just a conversation, but her son remained convinced this was the beginning of their forever family. The drive took them from Englewood to the Gold Coast, a journey that felt like traveling between different worlds. Expensive boutiques replaced corner stores. Doormen stood outside gleaming buildings. The people on the sidewalks wore clothes that cost more than Maya's monthly rent. Jin Hyuk's building was the most exclusive on the block. Taeyong pulled into a private garage, and they took a private elevator that required both a key card and fingerprint scan. Security cameras watched from every angle. Mr. Park takes security very seriously, Taeyong explained, noticing her observation. No one comes up without his permission. The elevator opened directly into Jin Hyuk's penthouse and Maya's breath caught. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Lake Michigan, the water stretching to the horizon like liquid silver. The interior was sleek and modern, All clean lines and expensive furniture, but warmer than she'd expected. Books in both Korean and English lined built-in shelves. Photographs showed what looked like family. An older woman who must have been his mother, a younger Jin Hyuk with people who carried the same aristocratic features. And in the kitchen, wearing jeans and a simple black sweater instead of his intimidating suit, stood Jin Hyuk himself. He looked younger like this. Less dangerous. Almost approachable. His hair was slightly messy like he'd been running his hands through it. No jewelry except a simple watch. Barefoot, she realized with a start. Something about seeing him in his private space, relaxed and casual, made him seem more human. Appa. Elijah ran to him without hesitation and Jin Hyuk caught him easily, lifting him up with a smile that transformed his entire face. Anyong ne sarung, he murmured, pressing a kiss to Elijah's forehead. Oh my love. Did you sleep well? I dreamed about you, Elijah said happily. We were having breakfast together. All three of us. Like a family. Jin Hyuk's eyes found Maya's over Elijah's head. That sounds nice. It was very nice, Elijah confirmed. Then with the casual cruelty of children he squirmed to be put down. Can I see your room? I want to see if it's like in my dreams. Down the hall, second door, Jin Hyuk said. Don't touch anything sharp. Elijah ran off, leaving the two adults alone in charged silence. Your home is beautiful, Maya said finally, needing to fill the quiet. Thank you. Would you like coffee? Tea? He moved to the kitchen with easy grace. I remember from your hospital records that you drink coffee black, no sugar. But I have other options if you prefer. You read my hospital records? I read everything about you. He said it without apology. Your education, your employment history, your credit score, your social media presence. Which is admirably minimal, by the way. I needed to know if this was a trap or legitimate. And what did you conclude? He poured coffee from an expensive machine, then brought it to her, their fingers brushing as she took the cup. The touch sent electricity up her arm. I concluded that you're exactly who you appear to be. A dedicated professional who helps traumatized children heal. A single mother doing everything possible to give her son a good life despite limited resources. A woman who values integrity over wealth, service over status. His eyes held hers. A woman worth protecting. I can protect myself. Can you? He gestured to the window to the city spreading below them. There are at least 4 different criminal organizations operating in the territory where you live. The Volkovs, the Triads, the Sinaloa cartel, and my own people. You've been safe so far because you were invisible. But you're not invisible anymore. Because of you. Because of Elijah, he corrected. The moment he started drawing me, asking about me, writing my name in Korean, he created a connection that my enemies will exploit. I didn't ask for this either, Maya. But I can't undo it. He wanted to argue, but he was right. The surveillance photo proved it. She and Elijah were already targets. What do you want from me? She asked quietly. I want you to let me protect you. Both of you. He sat across from her and she noticed his hands were shaking slightly. This powerful, dangerous man was nervous. Move in here. Temporarily. Just until I neutralize the Volkov threat. This building has security that would make Fort Knox jealous. Elijah would be safe. You could continue your work. I'd provide transportation with security. Everything would continue as normal except you'd sleep somewhere without 3 different gangs in a 5-block radius. That's not normal. That's living in a fortress. Better a fortress than a target. His voice roughened. Maya, I've already lost 1 child. I've already buried someone I loved because I couldn't protect her fast enough. I can't, let that happen again. The raw emotion in his voice hit her hard. Jin Hyuk. 3 days, he interrupted. Give me 3 days to show you this can work. That you can be safe here. That Elijah can be happy. If after 3 days you want to leave, I'll increase security on your building instead and respect your decision. And if I say no right now? His smile was sad. Then I'll respect that too. But I'll still post guards. I'll still monitor your safety. Because whether you accept it or not, you matter to me now. Both of you matter more than you should after a single day. Maya looked around the penthouse at the expensive furniture and security and wealth. This wasn't her world. She didn't belong in penthouses with private elevators and views of Lake Michigan. But then Elijah ran back into the room, his face lit with joy. Mama. Appa has a room for me. With a bed and toys and everything. Can we stay? Please, 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 can we stay? She looked at her son, her baby who'd never had his own room, who shared her cramped bedroom in their tiny apartment because that was all she could afford. Who was looking at her with hope and excitement and that same ancient certainty that this was where they belonged. Then she looked at Jin Hyuk, at the vulnerability in his eyes as he waited for her answer. 3 days, she heard herself say. But I have conditions. Relief flooded Jin Hyuk's expression. Name them. I continue working. No restrictions on my schedule or where I go. Agreed, with security escorts. I choose when and how Elijah interacts with you. If I think it's too much, we pull back. Agreed. And you answer my questions. All of them. About your business, your enemies, what we're really dealing with. No lies, no evasions. I deserve to know what danger I'm putting my son in. Jin Hyuk hesitated for the first time. Some of those answers will scare you. I'm already scared. At least let me be scared with accurate information. He nodded slowly. Agreed. Full transparency. Then we'll try this. 3 days. She stood, needing to move, needing space. But Jin Hyuk, I need you to understand something. I'm not some damsel who needs rescuing. I'm not going to fall into your arms just because you have money and power and a son who thinks you hung the moon. Whatever this is between us, if it's anything at all, it has to be real. Not based on fear or obligation or cosmic connections we don't understand. He stood too, moving closer with that predatory grace that made her pulse race. Agreed. No pressure. No expectations. Just possibility. Possibility, she echoed. He extended his hand, formal despite the intimacy of the conversation. Welcome to your new home, Maya. Temporarily. She took his hand, feeling that electric connection again. Temporarily. But looking into his dark eyes, feeling Elijah wrap himself around both their legs with happy certainty, Maya had a sinking suspicion that 3 days was going to change everything. And she had no idea if she was ready for what that might mean. The first 24 hours in Jin Hyuk's penthouse were surreal. Maya kept expecting to wake up from this bizarre dream. The luxury surroundings, the silent efficiency of staff who appeared and disappeared like ghosts. The way Elijah had immediately claimed his new room like he'd always belonged there. But Jin Hyuk himself was the most surprising element. She'd expected him to be distant. Busy with criminal enterprise things she didn't want to know about. That he was present. Kind of. He worked from home that first day, his office door open so he could hear Elijah playing. He joined them for meals, insisting on cooking traditional Korean breakfast himself. "Juk," he explained, setting a bowl of rice porridge in front of her. "My mother made this every morning. It's simple but nutritious." Maya took a tentative bite. The flavors were subtle. Ginger, garlic, a hint of sesame oil. "It's delicious. It's comfort food," he said, watching Elijah devour his own bowl. "When Sujin was pregnant, she craved this constantly. I learned to make it properly so I could surprise her." There was sadness in his voice but also fondness. He talked about his dead wife with the kind of gentle nostalgia that spoke of genuine love, not possessive grief. "Tell me about her," Maya said softly. "What was she like?" Jin Hyuk was quiet for a long moment, his fingers wrapped around a mug of coffee. The one Elijah had described, Maya realized, with Korean characters saying, "my heart." She was quiet, thoughtful. She loved classical music and old films. She used to say I was too loud, too intense, and she was my anchor. His smile was distant. "Our marriage was arranged by our families, both involved in the same business. But we grew to love each other. Not the passionate, all-consuming kind. More like deep friendship that became intimacy. Do you miss her?" "Every day. But the grief isn't as sharp now. Time doesn't heal wounds, but it makes them familiar. Bearable." He looked at her directly. "I'll always love her memory. But I'm not looking for her replacement if that's what you're worried about." "I wasn't," Maya started then stopped. Because maybe she was worried about that. About being compared to a dead woman. About being found lacking. "You're nothing like her," Jin Hyuk continued, reading her expression with unsettling accuracy. "Sujin was gentle and reserved. You're fierce and protective. She deferred to me in most things. You challenge me at every turn." His eyes darkened with something that looked like desire. "I find that incredibly attractive." Heat flooded Maya's cheeks. Jin Hyuk. I'm just being honest. You asked for transparency. I asked for transparency about the danger we're in. Not about your feelings. My feelings are part of the danger, he said seriously. Because I'm already invested, Maya. Already thinking about you in ways that go beyond protection. And my enemies will see that. Will use it. Before she could respond, Elijah interrupted, demanding Jin Hyuk's attention to show him a drawing he'd made. Maya watched them together. The dangerous crime boss crouching down to examine a crayon picture with serious attention, praising the color choices and composition like it was fine art. The love there was real. Inexplicable but real. That afternoon Jin Hyuk offered to teach Elijah, and by extension Maya, some basic Korean. They sat in his living room, the city spreading below them, and he wrote characters on a tablet with patient precision. This is Hanja, the character for love. Sarang. His voice softened on the word. It's composed of the radicals for person, and to receive and give. Love is the exchange between people. Sarang. Elijah repeated perfectly, tracing the character with his small finger. Sarangi, Jin Hyuk corrected gently. When you want to say, I love you, you add the verb ending. Sarangi. Sarangi Appa, Elijah said happily. Jin Hyuk's expression cracked with emotion. Nato Sarangi little one. I love you too. Maya watched the exchange, her counselor training noting the genuine affection, the careful way Jin Hyuk responded to Elijah's needs without being asked. This wasn't a man faking connection. This was someone who'd found something precious and was terrified of losing it again. What about family? She asked, trying to focus on the lesson rather than the emotion. What's the word for family? Gajok, Jin Hyuk said, writing the character. But there are specific words for each family member. Yama for mother. Appa for father. Abyoji for father in a more formal sense. Hyung for older brother if you're male, Appa if you're female. He continued explaining the intricacies of Korean family terms, and Maya found herself fascinated. The language seemed to carry weight that English didn't. Specific words for relationships that acknowledged their complexity. In Korean culture, family is everything, Jin Hyuk said. Who you're connected to, how you're connected, it defines your place in the world. When I lost Sujin and our daughter, I lost my gajok. My family. For 5 years I've had my mother, my organization, but no immediate family. He looked at Elijah, then at Maya. Until now. We're not, Maya started to protest, but he cut her off gently. I know. 3 days. Just possibility. But let me hope, Maya. Hope is a luxury I haven't allowed myself in a long time. She couldn't argue with that. That evening, after Elijah was asleep, Maya found Jin Hyuk on his balcony. The night was cool, Chicago's skyline glittering in the distance. He stood at the railing with a glass of whiskey, staring out at the city he controlled. Can't sleep? She asked, stepping outside. He glanced back and something in his expression softened. Too much to think about. You. Same. She moved to join him, accepting the glass of wine he poured without being asked. Tell me about your enemies. The Volkovs. What do they want? Jin Hyuk's jaw tightened. Territory. Power. Respect. The usual things men go to war over. He took a drink, the amber liquid catching the light. Viktor Volkov runs the largest Russian organization in Chicago. They've been trying to expand into my territory for 2 years. I've pushed back. People have died on both sides. How many people? Does it matter? Yes. She turned to face him fully. Because I need to know who you are. What you're capable of. If I'm trusting you with my son's safety, I need to know the truth. He was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was flat, emotionless. 23. That's how many Volkov men have died in conflicts with my organization over the past 2 years. 15 of my own people have died in return. Plus collateral damage, bystanders, innocent people caught in crossfire. He met her eyes. I didn't pull the trigger on most of them. But I gave the orders. In my world, that's the same thing. Maya's stomach churned. 23 people. Dead because of territorial disputes. Do you regret it? I regret the innocents. The bystanders who were in the wrong place at the wrong time. But the soldiers. He shook his head. They knew what they signed up for. In this world, you accept that death is part of the job. That's cold. That's survival. His hand tightened on his glass. Do you want me to apologize for being what I am? For doing what's necessary to protect my interests, my people, my family? I want you to feel something, Maya shot back. Anything. Because right now you sound like a sociopath. His control snapped. He set down his glass with careful precision, then turned to her with eyes blazing. You want me to feel something? Fine. I feel terror every time I think about Elijah in danger. I feel rage when I imagine the Volkovs touching either of you. I feel guilt for pulling you into this world. And I feel desire. God help me, I feel desire every time you look at me with those eyes that see too much. He moved closer and Maya's breath caught. I feel too much, Maya. That's the problem. I built walls to survive and you and Elijah are tearing them down brick by brick. So yes, I'm cold about the men who've died because if I let myself feel the full weight of that, I'd drown. But don't mistake survival tactics for lack of feeling. They stood inches apart, the tension crackling between them. Maya could see his pulse hammering in his throat, could feel the heat radiating from his body. I see you, she whispered. The man underneath the crime boss. The father grieving his lost daughter. The son who loved his mother enough to keep her teachings about soul connections. I see all of it, Jin Hyuk. His hand lifted, fingers grazing her cheek with devastating gentleness. Then you see more than anyone has in 5 years. Maybe that's the point, she said, her voice barely audible. Maybe that's why Elijah brought us together. Not just for him to find his Appa, but for you to find someone who sees you completely. And what do you see? Someone worth saving, she admitted. Someone who's convinced he's a monster but keeps doing gentle things when he thinks no one's watching. Someone who makes Korean breakfast for a child he just met because it's what his mother would have done. Someone who's terrified of loving again but can't help himself. Jin Hyuk's thumb traced her lower lip and she shivered. You make me want to be better. Be worthy of that seeing. You already are. He kissed her then, softly, questioningly, giving her every opportunity to pull away. But Maya didn't pull away. She leaned into him, her hands finding his chest, feeling his heart hammer beneath her palms. The kiss was everything. Gentle and fierce, hesitant and certain, filled with all the impossible feelings growing between them. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Jin Hyuk pressed his forehead to hers. Mayan, he whispered. I'm sorry. I promised no pressure. That wasn't pressure, Maya said, her fingers tangled in his shirt. That was honesty. It was also crossing a line. Maybe I wanted the line crossed. His eyes searched hers, dark and intense. What are you saying? I'm saying that despite every rational thought in my head, despite knowing this is crazy and fast and probably a terrible idea, I feel it too. This pull. This connection. This sense that being here with you is exactly where I'm supposed to be. It's only been 2 days. I know. We barely know each other. I know that too. My world is dangerous. Your son could be hurt. You could be hurt. And yet I trust you to prevent that, Maya said. Against all logic I trust you. Because Elijah does. And his instincts about people have never been wrong. Jin Hyuk's arms came around her, pulling her close. I won't let anything happen to either of you. I swear it on my mother's memory, on my daughter's grave. You're mine to protect now. Yours to protect, Maya repeated. Not yours to own. Never to own. But always to protect. Always to cherish. He kissed her forehead. Stay with me, Maya. Not just for 3 days. Stay until we figure out what this is between us. What if it's nothing? What if it's just proximity and danger and a child's wishful thinking? Then we'll discover that together, Jin Hyuk said. But I don't think it's nothing. I think it's everything. I think Elijah was right about us being meant to find each other. Maya looked up at him. This impossible man who'd walked into her life and turned everything upside down. Who made her feel protected and seen and desired all at once. Who was dangerous and tender and absolutely terrifying in his intensity. I must be crazy, she whispered. We can be crazy together, he whispered back. And then he was kissing her again, deeper this time, and Maya let herself fall completely. Into his arms. Into this impossible connection. Into the terrifying possibility that maybe, just maybe, fate had brought them together for a reason. Tomorrow she could be logical. Tomorrow she could question and doubt and protect herself. Tonight she just wanted to feel. To be held by someone who looked at her like she was precious. To believe that impossible things could sometimes be real. The attack came on the third morning. Maya woke to silence. The wrong kind of silence. The kind that made her counselor instincts scream danger even before her conscious mind understood why. She sat up in the guest bedroom Jin Hyuk had given her, listening hard. Nothing. No sounds from the penthouse. No traffic noise from the street below despite it being 7 a.m. on a weekday. She grabbed her phone. Dead. Completely drained despite being fully charged when she went to sleep. Her heart began to hammer. Maya slipped out of bed, moving quietly to Elijah's room. The bed was made, his stuffed elephant gone. For a moment, pure terror froze her. Then she heard it, a small giggle from somewhere else in the penthouse. She moved toward the sound, passing Jin Hyuk's office. The door was ajar and what she saw made her blood run cold. Two men she'd never seen before stood in the living room. Not Jin Hyuk's men. These were strangers, dressed in tactical gear, holding weapons with practiced ease. And they were speaking Russian. Maya pressed herself against the wall, trying to control her breathing. Where was Jin Hyuk? Where were his guards? How had these men gotten into a building with security that rivaled Fort Knox? She needed to find Elijah. Needed to get him out. A hand clamped over her mouth. Maya thrashed, but strong arms pinned hers to her sides. Hot breath against her ear, words in accented English. Quiet or the boy dies first. She went still, her mind racing. The voice wasn't Korean. Russian like the men in the living room. This was a Volkov operation. They'd somehow breached Jin Hyuk's security, gotten into the penthouse, and now they had her. The man dragged her into the living room. 3 more armed men materialized from other rooms and Maya's terror spiked. Where was Jin Hyuk? Was he dead? Had they killed him while she slept? Then she saw Elijah. Her son sat on the couch, clutching his elephant, looking small and scared but unharmed. His eyes widened when he saw Maya, but before he could speak, one of the men crouched in front of him. "Smart boy, keeping quiet," the man said in heavily accented English. "Now your mama is here. We can all have nice conversation." "Where's Jin Hyuk?" Maya demanded, her voice steadier than she felt. "What did you do to him?" "Mr. Park is indisposed," another man said, this one clearly in charge based on how the others deferred to him. He was older, with gray at his temples and cold blue eyes. Tranquilizer dart. He'll wake up eventually, find his woman and her son gone, and understand that crossing the Volkov family has consequences. "We have nothing to do with your war." "No." The leader smiled, and it was a terrible thing. "Your son draws pictures of Park Jin Hyuk. Calls him Appa. You move into his home, sleep under his roof, kiss him on his balcony where our cameras can see. You have everything to do with our war. You're his weakness." Maya's mind raced. Jin Hyuk was alive but unconscious. His guards must have been neutralized somehow. These men planned to take her and Elijah as leverage. She needed to stall, needed to give Jin Hyuk's people time to respond. "How did you get in?" she asked, trying to keep the conversation going. "This building is supposed to be secure. Money opens many doors. Even in Park's fortress." The leader gestured to his men. "Take them. The van is waiting in the private garage. We leave before." The lights went out. Complete darkness fell over the penthouse. Maya heard cursing in Russian, the sound of weapons being raised. Then emergency lighting kicked in, dim red lights that cast everything in hellish shadows. And through the shadows, Jin Hyuk moved like death itself. Maya saw him for only a fraction of a second before he was gone again, emerging from the hallway with a gun in each hand, moving with lethal precision. 2 shots. 2 bodies falling before the Russians could even react. "Down!" someone shouted in Russian, and the remaining men scattered, using furniture for cover. The man holding Maya shoved her to the floor, his gun pressed to her head. "Park, show yourself or she dies." Jin Hyuk's voice came from somewhere in the darkness, cold and utterly calm. "You think I care about her more than I care about ending you? You broke into my home. Threatened my family. There is no negotiation. We have the boy." Silence. Then Jin Hyuk's voice again, but this time it carried something that made Maya's blood freeze. Not anger. Not fear. Just absolute terrible certainty. "You have 3 seconds to release them. After that, I kill everyone in this room except Maya and Elijah." 1. The leader grabbed Elijah, pulling the child against him like a shield. You won't risk the boy. 2. Maya saw movement in the shadows. Jin Hyuk was circling, using the dim emergency lighting to his advantage. He'd trained for this, she realized. Probably had protocols for breach scenarios. The tranquilizer hadn't kept him down as long as they'd planned. I'm serious, Park. I'll put a bullet in this child's head. 3. What happened next took less than 5 seconds but felt like an eternity. Jin Hyuk emerged from the shadows, both guns firing with impossible precision. The man holding Maya dropped, a perfect hole in his forehead. Another Russian fell, then another. The leader tried to use Elijah as a shield, but Jin Hyuk's aim was surgical. A shot to the shoulder that made the man's arm go limp, then another to the knee that dropped him completely. Elijah scrambled away, running to Maya, and she pulled him close, covering his eyes as Jin Hyuk eliminated the last threats with brutal efficiency. When the shooting stopped, 6 bodies littered the living room floor. Jin Hyuk stood in the center of the carnage, his face empty of emotion, his eyes scanning for any remaining threats. Taeyong, he said into a phone that appeared in his hand. Breach contained. 6 hostiles eliminated. Where were you? Maya heard rapid Korean on the other end. Apologetic, urgent. I don't care about the gas leak 2 floors down. I don't care that it triggered evacuation protocols. Your job is to keep my family safe and you failed. His voice was ice. Get up here. No. And bring the cleaners. He ended the call, then finally, looked at Maya and Elijah. The emptiness in his eyes disappeared, replaced by something raw and terrified. He crossed to them in 3 strides, dropping to his knees and pulling them both into his arms. Are you hurt? His hands ran over them both, checking for injuries with shaking fingers. Did they touch you? Did they hurt you? We're fine, Maya managed, though she was shaking violently. Jin Hyuk, they tranquilized you. How did you? High tolerance. Years of building immunity to common sedatives. He pulled back just enough to look at Elijah, his hands framing the child's small face. You were brave, little one. So brave. Just like I taught you in the dreams, remember? Stay quiet, stay small, wait for Appa to come. Elijah nodded, tears streaming down his face. I knew you'd save us. I told Mama you would. Always. Jin Hyuk kissed his forehead fiercely. I'll always save you. Both of you. He turned to Maya, and what she saw in his eyes made her breath catch. Love, yes. But also fury. And beneath that, bone-deep fear. This is why I needed you here, he said roughly. This is why I need you somewhere I can protect you. They breached my home, Maya. My fortress. Imagine what they could do to your apartment building with its broken locks and no security. She couldn't argue. Couldn't even think clearly. She just watched him kill 6 men with the cold precision of a professional soldier. She'd have been horrified. She'd have grabbed Elijah and run. But instead she felt safe. Because those 6 men had threatened her son, and Jin Hyuk had eliminated the threat without hesitation. How did they get in? She asked quietly. Money. Bribes. My head of building security will be dealt with. His jaw clenched. But this was a message, Maya. Viktor Volkov sent these men knowing they might die. He wanted me to know he can reach me anywhere. Can hurt what's mine. We're not. You are. He pulled her closer, his forehead pressing to hers. Whether you accept it or not, you're mine now. Mine to protect. Mine to cherish. And anyone who threatens you answers to me with their life. The possessive declaration should have scared her. Instead, it sent heat through her entire body. Taeyong arrived with a team of men who immediately began removing bodies with efficient precision. The security chief looked devastated, apologizing profusely in Korean. Jin Hyuk responded in the same language, his tone cold enough to make the other man flinch. What are you telling him? Maya asked. That he has 24 hours to identify everyone who helped facilitate this breach. Building security, monitoring personnel, anyone who took Volkov money. And then I'll decide if he keeps his job or his life. Jin Hyuk. No. He stood, pulling her and Elijah up with him. No mercy. Not for this. They came into my home. They put their hands on you. They threatened to kill Elijah in front of me. There are no second chances for that level of betrayal. Maya watched men clean her temporary home of blood and bodies, and something fundamental shifted in her understanding. This was Jin Hyuk's world. This was what protection meant in his context. Not calling the police. Not filing reports, but swift, brutal justice that ensured the threat never returned. I'm taking you somewhere else, Jin Hyuk said, already making calls. Somewhere no one knows about. My mother's house in Evanston. She's in Korea visiting family. It's secure, private, and Victor doesn't know it exists. For how long? Until I end this. His eyes were hard as stone. Viktor Volkov just declared war. He sent men into my home to take my family. That requires a response. What kind of response? He looked at her fully and she saw the crime boss clearly now. Not the tender father or the grieving widower, but the man who'd built an empire on fear and violence. The kind that makes every other organization in Chicago understand that touching Park Jin-hyuk's family means death. Painful, public death that serves as a warning. His hand cupped her face. I'm sorry you have to see this side of me. But it's who I am, Maya. It's what I do. I know. And God help her, she did. She'd watched him kill 6 men without hesitation. Watched him terrorize his own security chief for failing. Watched him transform from the gentle man who made Korean breakfast into something cold and lethal. And she still felt safe with him. Take us to your mother's house, she said quietly. We'll wait there while you handle this. It might take a few days. Then it takes a few days. She touched his face, feeling the tension in his jaw. But Jin-hyuk, promise me something. Anything. Come back to us. Don't get yourself killed avenging an attack we survived. We need you alive, not martyred. His expression softened slightly. I'll come back. I have too much to live for now. He kissed her forehead, then Elijah's. My family is waiting for me. That's worth more than any territory or pride. An hour later, they were in a different car heading to Evanston. The penthouse was already being cleaned, security protocols revised, and Jin-hyuk's organization mobilized for war. Maya held Elijah as he finally fell asleep, exhausted from fear and adrenaline. Through the tinted window, she watched Chicago pass by and wondered what she'd gotten herself into. But when Jin-hyuk's hand found hers in the darkness of the car, squeezing gently, she squeezed back. They were in this together now. For better or worse. Jin-hyuk's mother's house was nothing like his modern penthouse. It was a traditional Korean home tucked into a quiet Evanston neighborhood, all warm wood and paper screens, with a garden that looked meticulously maintained despite its owner being overseas. My mother bought this 30 years ago, Jin-hyuk explained as he showed them inside. After my father died, she needed somewhere that felt like home. Like Korea. She comes here to find peace. The interior was beautiful. Low furniture, silk cushions, artwork that depicted Korean landscapes in delicate brushstrokes. It smelled like incense and green tea. Everything about it was the opposite of Jin-hyuk's sleek penthouse. This was warmth where that was sophistication. There are 3 bedrooms upstairs, Jin-hyuk continued. You and Elijah can take the master. I'll stay in my old room when I'm here. My men will be positioned outside, invisible but present. When you're here. Maya caught the phrasing. You're not staying? His expression tightened. I have business to handle. The Volkov response needs to be swift and overwhelming. Victor sent 6 men into my home. I need to send him a message he can't ignore. What kind of message? The permanent kind. He crouched down to Elijah's level. I need you to be brave for a few more days, little one. Stay here with your mama. Keep her safe for me. Can you do that? Elijah nodded seriously. But you'll come back? You promise? I promise. I'll always come back to you. Jin-hyuk pulled him into a fierce hug. Sarangi ne sarang. Sarangi Appa, Elijah whispered back. Watching them, Maya felt her heart crack open. This was real. Whatever impossible connection existed between this dangerous man and her son, it was genuine and deep and absolutely terrifying in its intensity. Jin-hyuk stood, his eyes finding Maya's. Walk me out. She followed him to the front door, hyper-aware of his presence in the small space. Outside, 2 SUVs waited with engines running. His men. His army. How long will you be gone? She asked quietly. 2 days. Maybe 3. He hesitated, then reached for her hand. I know this isn't the life you wanted. Being hidden away, waiting while I wage war. I'm sorry. Don't apologize for protecting us. I'm not apologizing for protection. I'm apologizing for bringing this into your world at all. His thumb traced circles on her palm, sending shivers up her arm. You should be living your normal life. Working, raising Elijah, dating normal men who don't have enemies trying to kill them. Normal men are overrated, Maya said, surprising herself. And I stopped having a normal life the moment my son started drawing you. This was always going to happen, Jin Hyuk. Somehow we were always going to find each other. His eyes darkened. You believe that? Really believe it? I'm a scientist. A counselor. I believe in psychology and evidence-based treatment. She stepped closer, drawn by something she couldn't name. But I also believe in what I see. And I see my son connect with you in ways that defy explanation. I see you look at him with love that's too deep, too instant, to be anything but soul recognition. And I see. She stopped, uncertain. What? His voice was rough. What do you see when you look at me? Everything, she admitted. The crime boss and the grieving father. The killer and the man who makes Korean breakfast with his mother's recipe. The dangerous and the tender. And somehow it all makes sense when I'm with you. Jin Hyuk's hand lifted to cup her face, his touch gentle despite the calluses on his palm. Maya. Don't, she interrupted. Don't say this is too fast or too dangerous or too complicated. Already know. But I'm tired of being cautious. Tired of second-guessing what I feel. And what do you feel? Safe, she whispered. When I should feel terrified, I feel safe. You killed 6 men this morning and all I could think was, thank God he's protecting us. What does that say about me? That you're practical. His thumb brushed her lower lip. That you understand the world isn't black and white. That sometimes monsters are necessary to protect against other monsters. Are you a monster? Yes. No hesitation. I've done terrible things, Maya. Things that would make you run if you knew the details. I've ordered deaths, sanctioned torture, destroyed families. I'm not a good man. Then why do I see goodness when I look at you? His breath shuddered. Because you see what I could be. What I want to be. For you. For Elijah. You see the man I was before grief and violence carved away the soft parts. The soft parts are still there, Maya insisted. You just hide them better. He kissed her then, deep and claiming and desperate. His hands tangled in her hair, pulling her flush against him, and Maya melted into it. She tasted urgency on his lips, need and fear, and something that felt like goodbye. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, his forehead pressed to hers. I have to go, he said roughly. But when I come back. When you come back, we'll figure this out. What we are. What we're becoming. And if you decide it's too much? If you want to leave. Maya looked into his eyes, seeing vulnerability there that he showed no one else. Then we'll deal with that. But Jin Hyuk, I'm not running. Not from you. Not from this. Whatever this is. He kissed her again, softer this time. Jitteral Jo, he whispered against her lips. I'll wait for you. However long it takes for you to be sure. I'm already sure, she said. I just don't know what to do with that certainty yet. He smiled and it transformed his whole face. That's enough. That's more than enough. Then he was gone, climbing into the SUV and disappearing into Chicago's streets. Maya stood in the doorway until the vehicles were out of sight, her lips still tingling from his kiss. Mama. Elijah appeared beside her, clutching his elephant. Is Appa going to be okay? Yes, baby. He's going to be fine. How do you know? Because he promised to come back to us. And I believe him. Elijah took her hand, squeezing with surprising strength. Me too. Appa always keeps his promises. The next 2 days were strange. Maya spent them exploring Jin Hyuk's mother's house, learning its rhythms. She found photographs. A young Jin Hyuk with his parents, formal and serious even as a child. Jin Hyuk with his wife, their wedding photo showing a couple that looked elegant but not entirely happy. No photos of the pregnancy. Of course not. Sujin had died before the baby was born. Elijah gravitated to a small meditation room with floor cushions and a Buddha statue. He'd sit there for hours drawing pictures of Jin Hyuk, of Maya, of the 3 of them together. Happy family portraits that made Maya's chest tight. He's coming back soon, Elijah announced on the second evening. Tonight maybe. I can feel him getting closer. How can you feel that, baby? I just can. Elijah looked at her with those ancient eyes. Can't you feel it too? When he's near, the air feels different. Warmer. Maya wanted to dismiss it as childhood imagination. But she'd learned to trust Elijah's inexplicable knowledge. And sure enough, around 9 p.m. her phone buzzed. Landing in 20 minutes. Is he asleep? Yotha. Almost. But he knew you were coming. Said he could feel you getting closer. Soul connection. It's real, Maya. However it works, it's real. Yotha. I know. I'm beginning to understand that. Wait for me. I need to see you both. Need to know you're safe and real and still there. Yotha. We're not going anywhere. She got Elijah into pajamas, but he refused to sleep, insisting on waiting for his Appa. They sat together in the living room and Maya found herself getting nervous. What if Jin Hyuk was injured? What if the confrontation with the Volkovs had changed him? The front door opened and Jin Hyuk stood there. He looked exhausted. Dark circles under his eyes, stubble on his jaw, his expensive suit rumpled and stained with what might have been blood. But he was whole, alive. And the expression on his face when he saw them made Maya's breath catch. Relief. Joy. Coming home. Appa. Elijah ran to him and Jin Hyuk caught him with a groan that suggested sore muscles. Nay sarung, he murmured, pressing kisses to Elijah's head. I missed you so much. Did you get the bad men? Yes. They won't bother us anymore. Jin Hyuk's eyes found Maya's over Elijah's head. It's over. The threat is neutralized. What does that mean exactly? It means Viktor Volkov is dead. His organization is scattered. And every criminal enterprise in Chicago now knows that touching Park Jin-hyuk's family results in total annihilation. His voice was hard, but his eyes were soft as he looked at them. You're safe now. Truly safe. Maya should have asked for details. Should have demanded to know exactly what he'd done. But Elijah was yawning, exhausted from waiting up, and Jin Hyuk looked like he might collapse at any moment. Come on, she said, making a decision. Both of you need sleep. We can talk in the morning. She got Elijah into bed, Jin Hyuk hovering in the doorway like he couldn't bear to be separated from them even for a moment. When Elijah was finally asleep, she turned to find Jin Hyuk watching her with an expression that made her heart race. You stayed, he said quietly. You didn't run. I told you I wouldn't. People say many things they don't mean. I'm not people. She moved closer. And I meant it. Every word. His hand reached for her, trembling slightly. I haven't slept in 2 days. Haven't eaten. Haven't thought about anything except getting back to you both. Then come here. She took his hand, leading him to the master bedroom. Sleep. We'll be here when you wake up. Maya. Just sleep, Jin Hyuk. Whatever else we need to figure out, we can figure out after you've rested. She expected him to argue. To insist on debriefing, on explaining, on maintaining his crime boss control. Instead, he kicked off his shoes and collapsed onto the bed with a groan of relief. Stay, he mumbled, already half asleep. Please stay. Just until I fall asleep. Maya hesitated for only a moment. Then she lay down beside him and his arms immediately came around her, pulling her close. His face buried in her neck, breathing her in. Gomawo, he whispered. Thank you. For being here. For being real. For giving me this. Sleep, she whispered back, her fingers running through his hair. Within minutes his breathing evened out. Maya lay in the darkness, held by a dangerous man who'd just killed an enemy for threatening them and felt completely safe. She should be analyzing this. Should be worried about Stockholm Syndrome or trauma bonding or any of the psychological phenomena she'd studied. But this didn't feel like any of those things. This felt like coming home. Several hours later, Maya woke to Jin Hyuk's hand tracing her face in the darkness. I didn't mean to fall asleep on you. You needed it. She could just make out his features in the moonlight streaming through the window. How do you feel? Better. Clearer. His thumb brushed her cheek. And terrified that I'm going to wake up and this will all be a dream. That Elijah doesn't really exist. That you don't feel this too. I feel it, she admitted. I don't understand it. Can't explain it to my counselor brain. But I feel it, Jin Hyuk. What do we do about it? I don't know. She turned to face him fully. What do you want to do about it? I want to keep you. Both of you. I want to wake up every morning knowing you're safe and mine. I want to teach Elijah Korean and watch him grow and be the father I never got to be 5 years ago. His voice roughened. And I want you, Maya. In my bed, in my life, in every way possible. That's fast. I know. But I wasted 5 years grieving what I lost. I don't want to waste more time being cautious about what I've found. Maya's heart hammered. I have conditions. Name them. I keep working. My career matters to me. Agreed. I'll provide security and transportation, but you keep your independence. Elijah's well-being comes first. Always. If being in your world hurts him, then we reevaluate everything, Jin Hyuk finished. His happiness and safety are paramount. I agree completely. And we go slow with the physical side. I haven't been with anyone since Marcus and I need. Whatever pace you need, he interrupted gently. I'm not going to pressure you, Maya. What I feel for you isn't just physical. It's everything. She searched his eyes in the darkness. You mean that? Every word. He pulled her closer and she went willingly. I'll wait as long as you need. Months, years, whatever it takes for you to feel safe enough to let me love you completely. You love me. The words came out barely a whisper. I think I started falling the moment you challenged me in that daycare hallway. This fierce, protective mother who wasn't remotely intimidated by the dangerous man everyone else fears. His lips brushed her forehead. And every moment since has only made me fall deeper. It's only been a few days. Does that make it less real? No, she admitted. Just more terrifying. We can be terrified together. He kissed her softly, sweetly, with none of the desperate urgency from before. Just tenderness. Just promise. When they broke apart, Maya found herself smiling. Okay. Okay, what? Okay, let's try this. Let's see what we can build together. You, me, and Elijah. Our weird, impossible, fate-driven family. Jin Hyuk's answering smile was brilliant. You won't regret it. I'll spend every day making sure you don't regret it. You better, she said. Because if you break my heart, Jin Hyuk Park, my son will never forgive you. Neither will I, he said seriously. Neither will I. They fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other, and for the first time in years, both of them slept without nightmares. 3 months passed in domestic bliss that felt almost too good to be real. Maya and Elijah moved into Jin Hyuk's rebuilt penthouse, now with security measures that made the previous setup look amateur. Jin Hyuk scaled back his organization's activities, delegating more to trusted lieutenants, focusing on legitimizing his business interests. They became a family. Jin Hyuk taught Elijah Korean every evening. Maya learned alongside them, her fluency improving rapidly. They cooked together, Jin Hyuk introducing them to Korean dishes while Maya taught him Nigerian recipes her grandmother had passed down. They celebrated birthdays, Elijah turning 5 with a party that blended Korean and American traditions. And slowly, carefully, Maya and Jin Hyuk's relationship deepened. They still hadn't made love. Jin Hyuk kept his promise about going slow, never pushing, always letting Maya set the pace. But the tension built between them, stolen kisses that left them breathless, touches that lingered too long, looks across rooms that promised everything. Maya knew she was falling completely, irrevocably, in love with a man who'd walked into her life through impossible circumstances and made her believe in fate. She should have known it wouldn't last. The warning came on a Tuesday afternoon. Maya was at the hospital finishing her shift in the pediatric trauma unit, when Taeyong appeared in her office doorway. The security chief's expression was grave. Ms. Washington, we need to leave. Now. What's happened? Maya's counselor instincts kicked in, reading his body language. Is it Jin Hyuk? Elijah? Elijah is secure with Mr. Park at the penthouse. But we've intercepted communications. There's a threat against you specifically. From who? The Volkovs are gone. Not Volkovs. Someone else. Someone we didn't see coming. Taeyong moved into the room, pulling down the blinds. 3 weeks ago, a story broke in the Russian underground about how Park Jin Hyuk destroyed the Volkov family. About why? About you and Elijah. Maya's stomach dropped. And now you're famous in certain circles. The woman who tamed Park Jin Hyuk. The child who connected to him through past lives. It's become legend, Ms. Washington. And legends attract attention. What kind of attention? The worst kind. He pulled out his phone, showing her a photograph that made her blood run cold. It was her leaving the hospital just yesterday. But the image had been altered, crosshairs superimposed over her face. And beneath it, text in what looked like Chinese characters. What does it say? Remove the woman, reclaim the territory. It's from the Sun Yeon Triad. They think if they kill you, Mr. Park will become reckless with grief. Vulnerable. And they can move into the power vacuum. Maya couldn't breathe. They're going to kill me to make Jin Hyuk weak? They're going to try. Taeyong's voice was hard. But Mr. Park has other plans. He's calling in every favor, activating every asset. We're taking you somewhere safe until he eliminates this threat. No. The word came out stronger than she felt. No more hiding. No more running. I'm tired of being protected like I'm helpless. Ms. Washington. I'm a trauma counselor, Taeyong. I work with children who've been shot, stabbed, burned. I've talked down gang members in emergency rooms. I've performed CPR on gunshot victims while their friends were still shooting. I'm not some delicate flower who needs constant protection. You're the woman Mr. Park loves, Taeyong said quietly. That makes you the most valuable target in Chicago. And yes, you need protection. Whether you want it or not. Before Maya could argue, her phone rang. Jin Hyuk. Maya. His voice was tight with controlled fear. Taeyong told you? About the triad threat? Yes. I need you to come home. No. We need to talk about this, figure out the safest course of action. Jin Hyuk, I can't keep living like this. Constantly looking over my shoulder, waiting for the next threat. This isn't sustainable. I know. His voice cracked slightly. I know, and I'm sorry. But I can't lose you, Maya. I can't bury another woman I love. Please just come home. Let me see you, touch you, know you're safe. The raw emotion in his voice undid her. I'm coming. But we need to have a serious conversation about what kind of life this is. Agreed. Whatever you need to say, I'll listen. Just please come home. The drive back felt longer than usual. Maya watched Chicago pass by through tinted windows, her mind racing. Could she really do this forever? Live surrounded by security, knowing criminals saw her as a weakness to exploit? Raise Elijah in a world where threats were constant? She loved Jin Hyuk. God, she loved him with an intensity that terrified her. But was love enough when it came with this much danger? The penthouse was locked down when she arrived. Extra guards, extra cameras, Jin Hyuk pacing like a caged animal. The moment he saw her, he crossed the room and pulled her into his arms. You're safe, he murmured against her hair. Thank God you're safe. For now. She pulled back to look at him. Jin Hyuk, we can't keep doing this. Every few months there's a new threat, a new organization trying to use me against you. This is exhausting. I know. His hands framed her face. I know, and I'm working on it. I've reached out to the Triad leadership, offered negotiations. I'm willing to give them territory, money, whatever it takes to make you off limits. Territory? Jin Hyuk, isn't that what this whole war has been about? Keeping your territory? Territory doesn't matter. Money doesn't matter. His eyes were fierce. You matter. You and Elijah are all that matters. I'll give up everything else if it means keeping you safe. Maya's heart clenched. You'd really do that? Give up your empire for us? In a heartbeat. It's just business, Maya. Cold, brutal business. But you. Your life. Your joy. You're the future I thought I'd lost forever. He kissed her softly. I'd burn it all down if it meant protecting you. What about the people who depend on you? Your organization, your employees. I'll make arrangements. Ensure they're taken care of. But I'm not sacrificing your safety for loyalty to people who chose this life knowing the risks. She searched his eyes, seeing absolute sincerity there. You mean that? Every word. Elijah appeared from his room, running to them both. Mama. Appa. I had a bad dream. People were trying to hurt Mama and Appa was very angry. Jin Hyuk scooped him up. Just a dream, little one. Everyone's safe. Promise. I promise. I'll always keep your Mama safe. No matter what it costs. Maya watched them, father and son, connected by something inexplicable and profound. And she made a decision. Jin Hyuk, I need to say something. Anything. I love you. The words came out clear and certain. I'm in love with you. Completely, terrifyingly in love with you. And I'm tired of being afraid of that. His breath caught. Maya. Let me finish. I love you, but I can't keep living in fear. Can't keep waiting for the next threat. So either we find a way to make this work. Really work, not just survive. Or we need to reevaluate everything. What are you saying? I'm saying I want a real life with you. Marriage, partnership, building something together. Not just hiding from enemies and reacting to threats. I want to be your partner, Jin Hyuk. In everything. Including handling these situations. His eyes widened. You want to be involved in dealing with the triads? I want to understand what's happening. Be part of the solution instead of the problem everyone's trying to protect. She touched his face. I'm not asking to become a crime boss. But I'm also not going to be sidelined while you make all the decisions about our safety. Jin Hyuk was quiet for a long moment. Then he set Elijah down gently. Go play in your room for a few minutes, little one. I need to talk to your mama. When they were alone, he pulled her to the couch. You're right. I've been treating you like someone to protect instead of a partner. That needs to change. So tell me everything. What's the triad threat exactly? What are your options? What's the real situation? He took a deep breath. The Sun Yi on season opportunity. With the Volkovs gone, there's territory up for grabs. They think if they eliminate you, I'll become consumed with revenge, make mistakes, leave openings they can exploit. Are they right? Probably. His smile was grim. If something happened to you, I'd become the monster everyone fears. There'd be no restraint, no strategy. Just violence until I either won or died trying. That's not a plan. No, it's not. He pulled out his phone, showing her intelligence reports, photographs, organizational charts. These are the key triad players. This is their territory. These are their legitimate business fronts. And this, he pointed to a photograph of an older Chinese man, is Zhang Wei their leader. He's the one who needs to be convinced you're off limits. How do you convince him? Negotiation if possible. Force if necessary. Jin Hyuk's jaw clenched. I've requested a sit-down. He agreed but wants it on neutral ground. Tomorrow night. Take me with you. Absolutely not. These meetings are dangerous even under the best circumstances. Then make it a condition. Tell him you're bringing your family. That he needs to see who he's threatening. Maya's counselor training kicked in. Men like Zhang Wei, they respond to power displays, right? Show him you're not afraid. That you're confident enough to bring the people he's threatened directly to him. Jin Hyuk stared at her. That's either brilliant or insane. Maybe both. She smiled. But I'm tired of hiding, Jin Hyuk. And maybe it's time Zhang Wei understood that I'm not your weakness. I'm your strength. His eyes darkened with something that looked like desire and respect mixed together. You're extraordinary, you know that? I'm practical. And I'm a counselor. I read people. Let me help you read Zhang Wei. If I agree to this, and that's a big if, you follow my lead completely. If I tell you to leave, you leave. If I tell you to be quiet, you stay quiet. Understood. Understood. He pulled her into his lap, his arms wrapping around her. I love you too, Maya. So much it terrifies me. And the thought of putting you in danger. I'm already in danger, she interrupted. At least this way, I'm facing it head-on instead of waiting for it to find me. Okay. The word seemed torn from him. Okay, we'll do this together. As partners. She kissed him then, deep and claiming, pouring all her love and fear and determination into it. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, she pressed her forehead to his. We're going to be okay, she whispered. All three of us. I know it. How can you be so certain? Because we were meant to find each other. Fate doesn't bring people together just to tear them apart. I hope you're right. He held her tighter. Because losing you would destroy me, Maya. Completely and utterly destroy me. Then good thing you're not going to lose me. But even as she said it, Maya felt fear curl in her stomach. Because tomorrow night, they'd be walking into a meeting with criminals who wanted her dead. And no amount of fate could guarantee they'd walk back out. The meeting was set for a restaurant in Chinatown. Neutral ground, public enough that open violence was unlikely but private enough for frank discussion. Jin Hyuk spent the day preparing, making calls, positioning assets. Maya watched him work, seeing the crime boss in action and understood why people feared him. He was brilliant. Ruthless when necessary but always controlled. Wear this, he said that evening, handing her a designer dress. Dark green. It'll make you look powerful but not threatening. Maya raised an eyebrow. You're dressing me now? I'm helping you make the right impression. He kissed her nose. But if you'd rather choose yourself, I trust your judgment. He kept the dress. It fit perfectly. Jin Hyuk had somehow gotten her measurements exactly right, and when she looked in the mirror she barely recognized herself. Elegant. Sophisticated. The kind of woman who could stand beside a crime boss and belong there. Elijah stayed with Mrs. Cho and a team of Jin Hyuk's most trusted guards. The goodbye was hard. You'll come back? Elijah asked, his ancient eyes worried. We'll come back, Maya promised. Your Appa and I are just going to talk to some people. We'll be home before bedtime. Promise you'll be careful? Promise. She kissed his forehead, then watched Jin Hyuk do the same. The drive to Chinatown was quiet. Jin Hyuk held her hand, his thumb tracing circles on her palm. Last chance to change your mind. I'm not changing my mind. You're stubborn. You love that about me. His smile was quick and genuine. I really do. The restaurant was upscale, red and gold decor, private rooms separated by ornate screens. They were led to the largest room where Zhang Wei waited with 4 of his men. The triad leader was older than his photograph suggested, maybe late 60s, with silver hair and eyes that missed nothing. He stood when they entered, and Maya felt his assessment like a physical thing. Park Jin Hyuk, he greeted in accented English. You bring a woman to a war council? I bring my family, Jin Hyuk corrected, his arm around Maya's waist. This is Maya Washington. The woman your organization threatened. I wanted you to meet her. See who you're planning to kill. Zhang Wei's eyes narrowed. Interesting strategy. Necessary strategy. Jin Hyuk pulled out a chair for Maya, then sat beside her. You think she's my weakness? I'm here to show you she's my strength. A woman is always a weakness. Not this woman. Jin Hyuk's voice was hard. This woman survived being abandoned while pregnant. Raised a child alone in one of Chicago's most dangerous neighborhoods. Counsels traumatized children who've seen horrors most adults couldn't handle. She's stronger than half my organization. Maya felt his faith in her like warmth spreading through her chest. Zhang Wei sat back, studying them both. You love her. Yes. That makes her a target. That makes her untouchable. Jin Hyuk leaned forward. Because if anything happens to her, I don't negotiate. I don't make deals. I become the monster every organization in this city fears. And I start with anyone who threatened her. You'd go to war over a woman? I'd end the world over this woman. Jin Hyuk's voice was absolute. But I'd rather not. I'd rather we come to an arrangement that benefits us both. What kind of arrangement? This was it. The moment they'd prepared for. Maya squeezed Jin Hyuk's hand under the table, giving him silent support. I'm stepping back from the business, Jin Hyuk said. Legitimizing my operations, focusing on legal ventures. The territory you want. Take it. The power you're seeking? It's yours. I'm not interested anymore. Zhang Wei's expression didn't change, but Maya saw surprise flicker in his eyes. You'd give up everything? For her safety? Yes. For a chance at a normal life with my family? Absolutely. Jin Hyuk's hand found Maya's on the table, lacing their fingers together in full view. But I need your word that Maya and our son are off limits. Permanently. No matter what conflicts arise in the future. You're retiring? Zhang Wei seemed genuinely shocked. The great Park Jin Hyuk walking away? I'm choosing different priorities, Jin Hyuk corrected. And making sure anyone who might threaten those priorities understands the consequences. Maya watched the triad leader process this information. His eyes moved from Jin Hyuk to her, assessing, calculating. Then surprisingly he smiled. You're a smart woman, he said directly to Maya. Coming here. Making him see that hiding you shows fear. You understand power better than most. I understand love, Maya said, finding her voice. And I understand that Jin Hyuk would burn Chicago to the ground if something happened to me or our son. That's not a threat. It's a fact. She leaned forward slightly. But I also understand that unnecessary violence serves no one. You want territory. He's willing to give it to you. Why make this complicated with bloodshed? Zhang Wei laughed, a genuine sound of surprise. I see why he loves you. You have fire. So do we have a deal? Jin Hyuk pressed. You leave Maya and Elijah untouched, you get the territory you want, and everyone walks away happy. What about your organization? Your people? They'll see this as weakness. Let them. Jin Hyuk's voice was hard. Anyone who challenges me will learn why I built this empire in the first place. I'm not weak. I'm just choosing different battles. Zhang Wei was quiet for a long moment, his fingers steepled beneath his chin. Then he nodded slowly. Agreed. Your woman and child are off limits. My word as leader of the Sun Yeon. Relief flooded through Maya, but Jin Hyuk's expression remained hard. I'll need that in writing. And witnessed by the other families. I want every organization in Chicago to know that Maya Washington and Elijah Park are untouchable. Elijah Park? Zhang Wei's eyebrow raised. I'm adopting him officially, Jin Hyuk said. He's my son. And anyone who harms him faces the same consequences as harming Maya. You've changed, Park Jin Hyuk. The man I knew 5 years ago would never have shown this kind of softness. I haven't changed. I've evolved. Jin Hyuk stood, pulling Maya up with him. Softness isn't weakness. Protecting what you love isn't vulnerability. It's the only thing that truly matters. Zhang Wei stood as well, extending his hand. Then we have an agreement. I'll have the documents drawn up. The territory transfer will begin immediately. Jin Hyuk shook his hand, then led Maya toward the door. But before they left, Zhang Wei spoke again. One more thing, Park. You're a lucky man. Not many people find a love worth walking away from power for. Jin Hyuk's arm tightened around Maya's waist. I know. I'm reminded every day. In the car, Maya finally let herself breathe. We did it. We actually did it. You did it, Jin Hyuk corrected. Coming with me, speaking up, showing him you're not just some damsel to be protected. That shifted the whole dynamic. We did it together. She kissed him, not caring that Taeyong was driving. Partners, remember? Partners, he agreed. Then his phone rang. He glanced at the screen and his expression changed. It's Mrs. Cho. About Elijah. Maya's heart stopped as he answered in rapid Korean. His face went pale. What? Maya demanded. What's wrong? He ended the call, his hands shaking. Elijah collapsed. They're rushing him to Northwestern Memorial. Mrs. Cho said he just suddenly fell, wouldn't wake up. Oh God. Maya's counselor training fled in the face of mother's terror. Drive faster. Please drive faster. The hospital was chaos. Maya's credentials got them through triage immediately, and they found Mrs. Cho in the emergency department waiting room, tears streaming down her face. I'm so sorry, Mr. Park. We were playing, he was fine, then he just collapsed. The doctors are with him now. A familiar voice called out. Maya. Dr. Stevens, one of the pediatric attendings Maya worked with, appeared in scrubs. His expression was grave. I heard it was your son. Come with me. They followed him to a private consultation room, and Maya felt Jin Hyuk's hand find hers, gripping tight enough to hurt. What's happening? Maya asked. What's wrong with him? We're still running tests, but his symptoms are concerning. Sudden loss of consciousness, irregular heartbeat, no obvious physical trauma. Dr. Stevens pulled up scans on the computer. Has Elijah had any heart problems before? No, Maya said. Never. He's completely healthy. His last checkup was perfect. What about family history? Congenital heart conditions. Maya opened her mouth, then closed it. She didn't know Elijah's biological father well enough to know his medical history. And Jin Hyuk's genetics weren't biologically relevant despite the soul connection. I don't know, she admitted. His father wasn't in the picture. I don't have that information. Dr. Stevens frowned. Hey. We'll keep monitoring him. He's stable for now, but we're going to need to do more comprehensive cardiac testing. Can I see him? Jin Hyuk's voice was rough. Of course. Room 12. But he's still unconscious. They ran to room 12, and the sight of Elijah, so small in that hospital bed hooked up to monitors and IVs, broke something in both of them. Nae sarung, Jin Hyuk whispered, his hand gentle on Elijah's forehead. Jibal gay Yona. Please wake up. Maya stood on the other side of the bed, tears streaming down her face. This couldn't be happening. Not now. Not when everything was finally working out. Then Elijah's eyes fluttered open. Mama? Appa. His voice was weak. Why are you crying? Baby, you collapsed, Maya said, smoothing his hair. You scared us so much. I'm sorry. He looked confused. I don't remember. I was playing and then I was somewhere else. Where? Jin Hyuk asked gently. I saw her again. The little girl from before. The one who was sick. Elijah's eyes found Jin Hyuk's. She said to tell you she's okay now. That you don't have to be sad anymore. And she said. He paused, struggling to remember. She said she had to go. That her job was done. Bringing you and Mama together was what she was supposed to do, and now she can rest. Jin Hyuk's breath shuddered, tears streaming down his face. You saw my daughter? I am your daughter, Elijah said simply. But also I'm me. It's complicated. But she wanted you to know she loves you. And she's happy you found Mama. Found us. The monitors started beeping erratically. Nurses rushed in, checking vitals, adjusting machines. But within minutes, everything stabilized. Elijah's heartbeat normalized. His color improved. Dr. Stevens examined him thoroughly, then shook his head in confusion. I don't understand. All his readings are perfect now. It's like whatever caused the collapse just resolved itself. Can we take him home? Maya asked. I want to keep him overnight for observation. But if he stays stable, yes. Tomorrow morning. That night, Maya and Jin Hyuk took turns sitting with Elijah, neither willing to leave him alone. Around 2 a.m. when the nurses had dimmed the lights and Elijah was sleeping peacefully, Jin Hyuk pulled Maya into his arms. I can't lose him, he whispered. I just found him. Found both of you. I can't lose this family. You won't, Maya said fiercely. Whatever that was, some kind of spiritual experience, a medical anomaly, he's okay now. He's going to be fine. How can you be sure? Because my son just said goodbye to your daughter. Gave her permission to rest. I think she's been holding on, Jin Hyuk. Part of her soul stayed connected to this world because she needed to complete something. And now it's complete. We're together. We're a family. Her job is done. Jin Hyuk was quiet for a long moment. Then, marry me. Maya pulled back to look at him. What? Marry me. Tonight, tomorrow, next week, I don't care. But I need to know you're mine officially. Wiggly. In every way that matters. His hands framed her face. I love you, Maya Washington. I love Elijah. And I'm done waiting for the perfect moment. This is it. Right here, right now, surrounded by hospital machines and the smell of antiseptic. This is our moment. That's the least romantic proposal ever, Maya said, but she was smiling through her tears. Then let me try again. He dropped to one knee beside the hospital chair, pulling out a small box that he'd apparently been carrying. Inside was a ring, a stunning diamond surrounded by emeralds. Maya Washington, you walked into my life through impossible circumstances. You brought me back from grief, showed me I could love again, gave me the family I thought I'd lost forever. You're fierce and tender, strong and vulnerable and absolutely perfect. Will you marry me? Become my wife. Let me spend the rest of my life proving I'm worthy of you. Yes, she whispered. Yes, Jin Hyuk. I'll marry you. He slipped the ring on her finger, then stood and kissed her with everything he had. When they broke apart, they realized Elijah was awake, watching them with a sleepy smile. About time, Appa, he said. I've been waiting forever for you to ask her. They laughed, both crying, and pulled him into their arms. Their family. Impossible, inexplicable, but undeniably real. 6 months later, Maya stood in front of a mirror in Jin Hyuk's mother's house, adjusting the cream hanbok she'd chosen for her wedding. The traditional Korean dress was stunning, embroidered with gold thread in patterns that represented eternal love, and fit her perfectly. Mrs. Park fussed around her, crying happy tears and speaking rapid Korean that Maya now understood perfectly thanks to months of intensive study. You're beautiful, daughter, Jin Hyuk's mother said in careful English, wanting Maya to understand completely. My son is blessed by the heavens to have found you. I'm the blessed one, Maya said honestly. Your son gave me everything I didn't know I needed. A knock on the door made them both turn. Can I see her? Jin Hyuk's voice came through. Just for a moment? No. Mrs. Park shouted. Bad luck. You wait. But Maya smiled and opened the door anyway. Jin Hyuk stood there in his own traditional hanbok, black with silver embroidery, looking so handsome it made her breath catch. You're breaking tradition, he said, but he was smiling. We've broken every tradition already. What's one more? She reached for his hand. How are you feeling? Terrified, he admitted. Excited. Like I'm about to get everything I've ever wanted and I'm afraid I'll wake up and it'll be gone. Not going anywhere, she promised. You're stuck with me now. Good. He pulled her close, careful not to wrinkle her dress. Sarangi Maya. Yongwen he Sarangi. I love you Maya. I'll love you forever. Nato Sarangi, she whispered back. I love you too. The ceremony was held in the garden. The same garden where they'd first kissed, now transformed with lanterns and flowers. White and gold everywhere, traditional Korean elements blended with touches that honored Maya's Nigerian heritage. Elijah walked Maya down the aisle looking proud in his own small hanbok. At 5 years old he understood the significance of today. His mama and Appa were officially becoming a family. Jin Hyuk waited under a traditional arch and when their eyes met his whole face transformed with love. The officiant spoke in both Korean and English, honoring both cultures. When it came time for vows, Jin Hyuk went first. Maya, you came into my life when I was walking through the world like a ghost. You brought me back to life. You showed me that grief doesn't have to be permanent, that love can find you in the strangest ways, that family is about choice and connection, not just blood. His voice thick with emotion. You're my second chance. My miracle. My everything. I promise to love you fiercely, protect you completely, and spend every day earning the gift you've given me. Maya's tears fell freely as she spoke her vows. Jin Hyuk, you terrified me at first. Everything about you, your danger, your intensity, your world, should have made me run. But instead you made me feel safer than I'd ever felt. You showed me that strength can be tender, that power can be protective, that monsters can become heroes when they find the right reason. She smiled through her tears. You're my unexpected forever. My soul's recognition. And I promise to stand beside you, be your partner, and love you in this life and whatever comes after. Then by the power vested in me, the officiant said, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride. Jin Hyuk pulled her into his arms and kissed her like they were the only two people in existence. Around them, guests erupted in applause, but all Maya could feel was him. His love, his devotion, his absolute certainty that this was forever. When they broke apart, Elijah launched himself at both of them. We're officially a family. A real forever family. We were always a real family, little one, Jin Hyuk said, scooping him up with one arm while keeping the other around Maya. This just makes it official. The reception was everything. Korean and Nigerian food side by side, K-pop and Afrobeats blending seamlessly, Jin Hyuk's former organization members mixing with Maya's hospital colleagues. Two worlds colliding and harmonizing perfectly. Late in the evening, Maya found Jin Hyuk on the garden balcony where they'd shared their first kiss. He stood looking out at the lights, a glass of whiskey in his hand. Happy? She asked, sliding into his arms. Beyond measure. He kissed the top of her head. I keep thinking about 5 years ago. How lost I was. How certain I'd never feel joy again. And now. He gestured to the celebration behind them. Now I have everything. We have everything, Maya corrected. We built this together. Did we? Or did fate build it and we just followed the path? Does it matter? I suppose not. He turned her to face him. I have something to tell you. Something I've been waiting for the right moment to share. Okay. I finalized it last week. My organization is fully legitimate now. Everything shipping, real estate, investments, all legal. All clean. I'm officially retired from the criminal enterprise business. Maya's breath caught. You really did it. Walked away from everything. For you. For Elijah. For the family we're building. His hands settled on her waist. I want our children to grow up with a father they're proud of. Not a crime boss they fear. Children. Plural. His smile was tender. If you want them. I'd love to have more children with you. Babies who come from both of us, who are born into this piece we've created. I'd like that, Maya admitted. Elijah would be an amazing big brother. He already thinks of himself as my son. Making it legal was important to me. Jin Hyuk pulled out a document from his jacket pocket. The adoption finalized yesterday. Elijah Park officially. Maya's eyes filled with tears. You adopted him? He's mine. Has been since the moment he called me Appa. But now it's legal. No one can ever question his place in this family. She kissed him deeply, not caring who might see. When they broke apart, she pressed her forehead to his. I love you, she whispered. So much it sometimes terrifies me. Good. Terror means it matters. Means it's real. He kissed her softly. I love you too, Mrs. Park. Mrs. Park, she repeated, testing the name. I like the sound of that. Get used to it. You're stuck with it for the next 60 years. Only 60? Fine. Forever. You're stuck with it forever. They stood wrapped in each other's arms, looking out at the celebration of their union. Behind them they could hear Elijah laughing, playing with other children. Their son. Their miracle. Do you ever think about her? Maya asked softly. Your first daughter? The one who brought us together. Every day, Jin Hyuk admitted. But not with pain anymore. With gratitude. She gave me 3 minutes of life, then came back in a different form to give me everything. How could I not be grateful? Do you think she's really gone? That what Elijah experienced in the hospital was her final goodbye? I think part of her will always be with him. Soul connections don't sever completely. But yes, I think she's at peace now. She saw her mission completed. Bringing us together, giving me back my capacity to love, helping you see that you deserve to be cherished. His arms tightened around Maya. She gave us everything and asked for nothing. That's the purest form of love. I hope she knows we're happy. That her sacrifice mattered. I think she knows. Somehow, across whatever distance separates this world from the next, I think she knows and she's happy for us. They were quiet for a moment, both lost in thoughts of impossible connections and the mysterious ways fate worked. Appa. Mama. Elijah ran onto the balcony, breathless and excited. Grandmother says it's time to cut the cake. And I get the first piece because I'm the reason you met. Jin Hyuk laughed, a sound of pure joy. He's not wrong. Come on. Elijah grabbed both their hands, pulling them back toward the celebration. As they walked together, husband, wife, and son, Maya felt a sense of completion she'd never experienced before. This was her family. Her forever. Built on impossible circumstances, forged through danger and doubt, but real and solid and absolutely perfect. Wait, Jin Hyuk said suddenly, stopping them. He knelt down to Elijah's level. I want you to know something, son. Your mama and I were together because of you. You brought us together. You showed us we could be a family. Everything good in my life right now exists because you had the courage to draw pictures of a man you'd never met and call him Appa. Elijah's eyes went wide. Really? Really? You saved me, little one. Saved both of us. Jin Hyuk pulled him into a tight hug. Gomawo ne sarung. Gomawo. Thank you, my love. Thank you. You're welcome, Appa, Elijah said seriously. Then he grinned. But can we get cake now? I'm really hungry. They laughed and walked back to the celebration hand in hand in hand. Their family. Their forever. Epilogue 2 years later. Maya sat in the nursery of their new house. A sprawling estate in Lake Forest with a garden big enough for Elijah to run wild and security that was invisible but comprehensive. In her arms, their daughter slept peacefully. Jimin Park had been born 3 months ago with a head full of dark hair in her father's eyes. She was perfect. Calm and content, rarely crying, as if she knew she'd been born into a family filled with love. Is she sleeping? Jin Hyuk appeared in the doorway, Elijah beside him. Finally, Maya whispered. Your daughter has very strong opinions about bedtime. She gets that from her mother. He crossed the room, pressing a kiss to both their foreheads. How are you feeling? Tired. Happy. Complete. Elijah climbed onto the rocking chair beside Maya, peering at his baby sister. She's so small. Was I that small? Even smaller, Maya assured him. You were a tiny peanut. Can I hold her? Jin Hyuk carefully transferred the sleeping baby to Elijah's arms, supervising closely. The 7-year-old held his sister with surprising gentleness, his expression full of wonder. I'll protect her, Elijah said seriously. Just like Appa protected us. No one will ever hurt her. I know you will, son, Jin Hyuk said. You're going to be an amazing big brother. Maya watched her family, her husband, her son, her daughter, and felt overwhelmed with gratitude. The journey that brought them here had been impossible. Inexplicable. Built on soul connections and fate and circumstances that defied logic. But looking at them now, at the love filling this room, none of that mattered. What mattered was this moment. This family. This forever they'd built together. What are you thinking about? Jin Hyuk asked, settling on the arm of the chair and pulling both her and Elijah close. How lucky I am, Maya said. How blessed. A few years ago I was alone and struggling. And now I have everything. We have everything, he corrected, the same words she'd once said to him. We built this together. Did we? Or did a 4-year-old with crayons and impossible knowledge build it for us? Maybe both. He kissed her softly. Sarangi Yobo. I love you, darling. Sarangi, she whispered back. Elijah made a gagging sound. You guys are always kissing. It's gross. Wait until you're older, Jin Hyuk said, laughing. You'll understand. Never. Girls are weird. You have a sister now. You have to think at least one girl is okay. Elijah looked down at Jimin sleeping peacefully in his arms. Okay, one girl. But that's it. They laughed quietly, not wanting to wake the baby. Outside, the sun was setting over their estate, casting everything in golden light. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new adventures. But tonight they had this. A family gathered together filled with love that transcended lifetimes. Thank you, Jin Hyuk said suddenly, his voice thick with emotion. For choosing me. For choosing this life. For giving me back everything I thought I'd lost. Thank you for seeing me, Maya replied. For making me feel safe enough to love again. For being the partner I didn't know I needed. And thank you for drawing me, Elijah added, making them both laugh. Even though I didn't know I was doing it. I still think that's pretty cool. It is cool, Jin Hyuk agreed. The coolest thing that ever happened to me. As night fell over their home, the Park family stayed together in that nursery. Husband, wife, son and daughter. Surrounded by love that had overcome impossible odds. Because sometimes the most beautiful love stories start in the strangest ways. Sometimes a child's drawing can change everything. And sometimes, fate brings people together across lifetimes, just waiting for them to be brave enough to recognize each other and say yes to forever. The end. Thank you so much for watching Maya and Jin Hyuk's journey from impossible recognition to forever love. If this story touched your heart, made you believe in soul connections, or just gave you all the feels, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss another emotional romance. We want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell us. Where are you watching from? Do you believe in soul recognition across lifetimes? What was your favorite moment? The daycare reveal? The first attack? The hospital scene? The wedding? Should we create more Korean Mafia romance stories like this? Don't forget to like this video and share it with someone who believes in destiny, second chances, and love that transcends logic. Your support helps us create more beautiful love stories. What story should we tell next? Comment your ideas below. Until next time, keep believing in connections that can't be explained, only felt. Because sometimes the heart knows what the mind can't understand. And sometimes a child's drawing is all it takes to bring two souls home to each other.